right, so normally in a course like this, I would put together a couple of introduction lectures and tell you about what the React library is and what its purpose is. But to be perfectly honest, that type of lecture at the beginning of a course just ends up being a little bit boring for me and for you. Whenever I take courses, I just fall asleep during the lectures anyway. I want to get to it. So, we're going to talk about what the purpose of React is and what the library is quite a bit, but over the range of time. Because I think at the start of the course would be a lot more exciting if we put together a tiny React application instead. Isn't this why you're doing the course anyway? Of course it is. And that's what we're going to do in this video. So we're going to put together a tiny React application. Now, we might not understand everything or even a lot of the code that we're going to write into this lecture, but that's totally fine. If you stick with me, you're in good hands. All right? So I just want to write out a little bit of code and show you how quickly and how easily we can just put together something with React. So to put together this React application, we're going to use a little online tool. And I've got an address to the tool that we're going to use right here on the screen. And then we're going to open up a new browser tab and navigate to that address. All right, so this is a tool called CodePen. And we can use it to very easily put together little React applications. So we're going to use it now, but in general, we're going to be working on our local code editor. So first, we have to open up a new pen, then add a library. Now, in order to do this, I'm just going to go click on the settings button on the top right hand. Good. Then I can find the JavaScript button. It's here in the middle. All right, and then you'll notice that we have the ability to add in some external scripts, right? React is an external script. So we have to add it in as a discrete step right now. First, I'm going to select Babel right here. And then I'm going to search for React. So when I search for React, you're going to notice that two very similarly named libraries appear. So I'm going to add both React and React DOM as libraries. Now, in order to do that, we'll first just click on React, and then I can search for React DOM, and I'm going to click on that one as well. So now I should see two separate libraries inside of here. So look, that's all we have to do. So just click on Save and Close. And now we can freely write the React code inside of this project. Now you'll notice that at the very top of the screen here, we've got these three separate panels, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. All right, so now we're going to write a little bit of React code into these three different panels. And then we'll be able to see our app appear here. All right, I'm ready. Are you ready? What are you waiting for? Let's get started. All right, so I'm going to find the JS panel, and I'm going to add a little bit of code down here. So I'm going to say class app extends react.component. And then I'll place a set of curly braces like so. Now, inside of this class body, I'm going to say state equals a JavaScript object. And this object is going to have one property inside of it named btn color. And it has the value of button red. And then I'm going to put a semicolon at the end of the line. After that, I'm going to add in a method to the class. Now, the method is going to be called the render method. So inside of here, I'm going to write out the return keyword, and then I'm going to place what looks like HTML. Now, remember, we haven't spoken about syntax just yet, so we're going to go over all of this syntax in really great detail in the next couple of videos. But right now, let's just focus on writing out this code. So I'm going to say return div, and then I'll close the div off. That definitely looks like HTML. Then inside of the div, I'm going to write button with the same class name, this state btn color, which is referencing the button red. And I'm going to add it inside the CSS styles in just a few seconds. And then inside of the button, I'm just going to write click me, and I will close it like so. All right, so now I'm going to add another method right above render. So this one is going to be called onClick. And I'm going to assign this method by saying equals, and then I'll put in an arrow function like this. All right, so this arrow function is going to be called with a single argument that we'll refer to as event. And inside the body of this function, I'm going to say this dot set state, and I'll place my parentheses to call that function. And then I'm going to put a curly brace pair inside there like so. All right, so now I can then expand that. And inside of here, we're going to say btn color, semicolon, and button gray. And one last thing for the JavaScript side of the project. I'm going to go down to the button right here, and I'm going to add in a little additional HTML. So I'm going to say on click. So make sure that you have the same capital letters that I do, and I'll say that equals curly braces. And then inside there, I'm going to put this dot on click. Okay, so hey, we've now finished this class. Now, the very last thing I'm going to do is go down to the very bottom of this JS panel just outside the class, and I'm going to write out React DOM.render. And I'm going to call that function, and as the first argument, I'm going to say app and make it look like some HTML tag like so. Then after that, I'll say document.query selector, and I'll put a string in here, and I'll say pound root. All right, so that's it for the JavaScript side of things. What do you think? See, we're just moving right along, and you're not even sleeping, are you? So now I know some of this syntax is probably looking pretty crazy about now for you, but of course, I just want to keep carrying on just a little bit more because you're going to see the method to my madness. All right, we're going to learn everything, believe me, in the next few lectures. But right now, it's just kind of fun, isn't it, to explore? So now, the next thing I'm going to do is to go to the HTML panel up in here, and I'm going to put in a div with an ID of root, like so, and now close it off. Now, the very last thing that we'll do is add CSS right here. So inside the CSS panel, I'll say button red, and I'll give the background color of red and then color white. So the text will be white. Now, the same thing goes for the button gray, background color of gray, and then the text will be white again. Now, notice we get a red button over here, and when I'm going to click on it, you're going to notice that it turns gray. Okay, well, that's it. That's the React app. Now, maybe you can probably tell why I didn't want to, tell you what we're building right away, because it probably wouldn't make a whole lot of sense if I gave you the verbal description about React. I mean, it really, that's why it's called React, right? So, what's the goal of this app, would you say? I'm just kidding. I'm not listening. I'll tell you what the goal is. I just wanted to show you a bit of the React code so that you can visualize the thing that I'm going to show you all of its components of in the next couple of lectures. All right? So, obviously, it doesn't really tell us a whole lot about what React is or, you know, what we use it for, even, or I don't know. It doesn't really tell us about all the crazy syntax either. So, why don't we take a quick break? Um, you can either take a nap, grab some tea, or whatever you need to do, because we're going to come back in the next section and we're going to go to town. All right, so I'm going to start talking about what we just did, and then we'll dive into React a little deeper. So, quick pause. I'll see you back here in the next lecture.